That's so fun.
Hi,
And Blanche.
Eliza.
Hi.
Hi, Blanche.
Hi. I brought her so people could feel good about dogs today. I don't know. And you can pet her. It's an interactive experience. It's an interactive learning experience.
I mean, Blanche
Do not
has
feed her
already
anything.
stolen my heart, so it's totally fine. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your book.
Than's you.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. Thank you. Oh, so sweet. Yeah, I woke up this morning and, you know, it's months and it's over a year of preparation and I'm just, everyone's like, how are the reviews? I'm like, people just got it today. No one's read it. So, but you read it.
I read it and I loved it and I laughed and
Hear
I felt
that?
things and you should read it too. So,
Yeah.
it's called Girl Logic.
Yes.
What is Girl Logic?
Glad you asked that. So, I just believe, I know, that there's so much expected of women. Minute to minute, women are supposed to be so many things to so many people. One woman, you are supposed to be, depending on who is judging you, looking at you, talking to you, sexy but demure, open but conservative, a mother, a daughter, a wife, and people project these desires onto women, and it's very easy to be like, whatever, I'll just do whatever I want. But the ramifications of what other people expect from you can be deadly, can be detrimental to your career, can hurt your feelings, can be positive as well. But Girl Logic is the process with which women have to process all of the incoming stimuli about what people think about us and make our decisions for the future. And so all the input we have to process, it sounds insane, the past, present, and future, just to make a current decision. Men do it too, but women have to do it for so many things, ranging from what do I wear right now? Do I want to go out? Do I want to kiss this guy? Do I want to try for that job? Do I want this pizza? And we do it effortlessly. And when I say all of it, it sounds insane, but we all do this for everything. And so this book sort of honors that, because I got tired of women always being labeled crazy, when in fact we are not crazy. We are smart and complicated, and people like to paint women with broad strokes, and I'm over it.
Right on.
That was so, I have not had lunch. I haven't had lunch, and I'm trying this weird diet, so like your face was this small, and it was all just black around you, and I was like, I've got to get these words out, and it has to sound normal, or I'll sound crazy.
It sounded so normal and very wise.
Hashtag normal.
Hashtag wise and normal.
Hashtag wise.
If you don't know, Eliza has like a lot of things going on, including many Netflix specials, a late night show. She does stand-up all the time. She is engaged. She has Blanche. She has a lot.
And yet it feels like nothing.
How did you find time for a book, and why did you want to write a book?
The book is, it was a process over a year. And if anyone knows anything about show business, like life, it waxes and wanes. So you have days where the phone doesn't ring and days where you don't have a minute to yourself, like today. I wanted to write this book because I feel like I touched on it. That came out bitchy. I feel weird having touched on it. I'm going to repeat it. I got tired of always hearing that women are crazy and always hearing that there's something wrong with women. And I knew in my heart, and I know this from my stand-up, if I'm feeling something as a normal girl, like there's nothing particularly special about me except for like things that are special, then other women must be feeling it too. And my experiences can't just be unique to me. I guess they are mine, but the thoughts that I'm having, I'm like, other women have to be feeling this way. My whole career is this sort of love letter to women, and I wanted to write this book, and it's for this is also a big reason I do a lot of my stand-up. I want people, women in particular, but this is for boys as well, because there's a lot about things that don't have to do with being a woman, to not feel so alone. Even if it's just a young girl out there who, whether it's dealing with an abortion or self-esteem or career or strength, you know, because women aren't supposed to be very strong. If one girl reads this and is like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that feels this way, or someone else went through this, I know how valuable that is for me when I see this in people I look up to, or even just other women. So I did it so that other people wouldn't feel so alone.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It was really hard too. It's really hard to write a book. So
this is not written on my little cards, but when you said strength, it made me think of it. Emotional strength is important. Physical strength is important. When you Google your name, do you know what the first autofill is?
Isn't it feet?
It's abs.
Oh, good. Wait, good. No more feet. Good. Thank God. 'Cause you put one picture of your foot and people just go berserk.
Was there a foot picture circulating for a while?
It's just I took a picture of my foot one time because I had a cute pedicure, and people were like, oh yeah, feet. There you go. Just search this all day. I don't need a job. The abs thing I've heard, I
Good
like.
for you.
Yeah, good for you. I don't know. I think it's a fine line. So society wants you to be thin, wants you to work out, wants you to look a certain way. But if and when you do achieve a body that you're proud of, then they tell you to tone it down. Oh, you're showy. Oh, it's too much. Oh, you're cocky. And it's like, I don't love my thighs. I don't tend to take pictures of those. And if we're being totally honest, a majority of those pictures were taken in like my late 20s, like very early 30s, and like I kind of don't do it anymore because it doesn't come as easily, if we're being honest. But I think I post them in like my first Netflix special, I was like half naked because I very much wanted to throw it back in social media space. Like, you require us to look a certain way, and I actually do. And now you're criticizing me for that because I'm too proud. And I think and women do it to other women. It's like, what if we just let women love what they love about themselves and let it be? Right?
That deserves applause.
Thank you. Hello.
So I have to ask, your book is kind of operating in a weird nexus right now because it's published by Weinstein Books.
Yep.
The forward is by your friend Mayim Bialik, who's gotten some heat.
Yeah, what a week for me.
Yes. So has that all added a lot of stress to the publication of this book for you? Has it made you think about things differently, or?
Okay, so I'll answer that in two parts. I don't think about things differently because as a woman in entertainment, as a woman in comedy, but just as a woman or as a human with ears, like, this stuff happens. We didn't know it was as systemic as it was with him. Like, he was like setting up rape sessions basically all day, every day. Yeah. But as women, we know that this exists, and the good that's come from this is that people are listening now. It's kind of interesting. I'll show you on the book. I mentioned this yesterday when I was at Hachette, and they almost threw up. But my book is the last one to be printed by Weinstein. I'm using this finger on purpose. So it's got this little Weinstein insignia, and I liken it to, like, if you had a grandparent that fought in World War II and they, like, took some Nazi cutlery. So, like, somewhere in your grandpa's house is, like, a plate with a swastika. That's, like, the last, like, they don't make those anymore. That's how I feel about this. But I didn't, not the book, just the thing. I didn't, as a strong woman, as a woman that worked very hard on this, and to be quite frank, Weinstein Books, the company, was two women who had no idea this was going on. I've never met Harvey Weinstein, and I'm glad I never will. I took it as, I just kind of planted my heels even more firmly, and I was like, this is a book about empowerment. It's about all these topics, and I'm not going to let that stop its mission, because that would be another example of a man doing something horrible and a woman paying the price. And again, writing this book was super hard, so I was not going to let him take that away from me.
I want to give you applause after everything you say.
Oh, thank you.
Applause.
Sorry. And as for the Mayim, Mayim wrote an article. For better, whether you liked it or not, I really felt that the way she was treated after that article was sort of indicative of our tear her down mentality. That was me yelling at like a townsperson. It's an issue that we have, our society, but women in particular, it's an urge to tear other women down. And you can sit here all day and be like, I retweet articles from feminist websites, but she really walks the walk. She has Grok Nation, which is like her site that's dedicated to all things intelligent and interesting. She is a feminist. She upholds other women. She did this for me. Like, she really does it. She doesn't just sit there and criticize other women. So whether you like the article or not, I didn't think it deserved the backlash that it got. And that's unfortunate that people sought to tear her down so aggressively. And I'm proud that she wrote that. My forward. Her article is her own thing.
Well, the forward is wonderful, so yes.
Thanks, Maya.
Thanks, Mayim. To go back, way back, what is the first moment in your life that you really remember making somebody laugh?
Okay, I don't remember this, but my mother has told me this. You know those Groucho Marx nose, brow, mustache glasses? So my parents were they're funny people, and my mom told me when I was like 2, she put them on me, and she pointed, she goes, funny, like showing me that that's funny, like that's a funny face. And I guess my parents had a friend that came over, and he had like a big nose and a mustache and glasses, and he walked in, and I went, funny. So I like that story just because, I mean, it's kind of you're teaching your kid, like, oh, if someone's features are different than yours, then it's funny. But I guess that would be it. I don't know. I guess that's what I've been told. That's pretty early on, so we'll go with that one.
I love it. And then to something that I'm sure you remember, the way that you came into our cultural consciousness is really through Last Comic Standing, which you write a lot about in the book. What made you audition for the show?
At the time, so this, for me, it was 2008. Internet, there weren't as many platforms. Like right now we're broadcasting on like 35 platforms and like the Yelp's comment section. Like that's, there's so much, it's everywhere. AT&T does comedy content. Oh, so, and Verizon, whoops a daisy. But everybody does it, everybody, you know, and they didn't have that back then. And that was the premier thing to do, to get seen if you were a nobody. And everybody was auditioning for it. Any comic that craps on that show, it's because they didn't do well. It was a great vehicle just to be seen, and I wanted to do it because that was the thing to do. I didn't really have a plan. I just was like, if I can get A plus B equals C, if I can get more people to see my jokes, then that's a good thing. And that was it.
In the book, you write a lot about it, and you write, I thought one of the most compelling parts was when you talk about sort of what happened after you won, and you're on tour with the guys who were on the show with you, who are your friends, and then suddenly they're not really your friends anymore, and they're being pretty bad. And was that, when you look back on that, was that all sexism? Were they jealous? Did you learn anything?
I think it's very hard to separate when there's a past transgression and you're looking back as a woman. It's hard to separate sexism from just pure aggression. Mm-hmm. And I held on to that story for a very long time because you never want to look like the girl that won and complained. You don't want to look like you're complaining. And this feeds into our culture of when something bad happens to you as a woman, you don't want to complain. You don't want to be shamed or victimized or vilified. There's all these things. And moreover, I was like, I'll just take it on the chin and move forward. What was your question?
Was it sexism, and what'd you learn?
What did I learn? I learned that nothing will ever be as difficult mentally in comedy as that. That was competitive comedy with PTSD type fallout. I was mentally scarred for years. I didn't really talk to other comics. I thought people hated me. I was afraid. And I was very spiny, like prickly because of it. And it took a long time to work through that on my own. It had to have been sexism simply because I was a younger woman who won, and I think these men felt as if I had taken something away from them that they deserved. Everybody thought that they should win. And it went beyond, you know, you suck. It was like mental abuse. They physically threatened me at one point. And it's day in and day out with these men. The tour manager was an asshole, and he hated me. And I'm just this 25, 26-year-old girl. I've had 3 years of comedy under my belt. We're on a tour. I'm not even doing that well at headlining. You have like maybe 20 minutes that you're proud of. And yeah, so it was just like endless crying, not eating, which sounds amazing, I know. But at one point, like, my manager was like, you look so thin. And I was like, I eat 1 meal a day, and I'm terrified to talk to everyone. And I've been trying to get back on that diet. But yeah, it's a scary thing to go through that, and I've come out stronger, but then through that, you know, anybody that's gone through anything like that, any sort of social trauma, you come out with your guard up, and it took years to kind of let it down and realize, oh, that was an isolated incident. Not everybody is that horrible.
Do you think that it changed your comedy at all?
I don't think it changed my comedy. If I look back at the way I was then, like, it's always been pretty aggressive comedy, you know? I don't think it changed my comedy. I think, unfortunately, it changed the way that I related to other comics, and I would like to have been more open. I was never mean to anyone, just kind of, all right, I'll just come in, I'll do my thing. Also, being a headliner, people already want to tear you down. And I look at some of my colleagues who have had a more positive experience in this career, and it's never too late to change. But sometimes I think back, and I know that I missed out on maybe reaching out or being a little bit more open to other comics. You do it now, but it sucks. I kind of missed high school, I guess. Oh. I'm okay now. I have a lot of friends now.
You seem totally well-adjusted.
I feel good.
There's a real strong desire to, you know, put women in comedy into different boxes. Mm-hmm. What box has sort of been made for you that you've been pushed toward and had to steer away from?
I think it's the box that's been made for me that I think we categorize a lot of women this, and it's a very lazy one. It's, you know, if you're remotely attractive, it's like drunk slut. People love that. They love this whole, like, can't adult today, whining, I woke up, don't know where my pants are, pizza. I don't know when we decided that a girl eating pizza made her hot and or relatable. Everybody eats pizza, so it's not like, wow, she's so accessible. She's eating something wow, like, and that there's an Instagram like hot girls eating pizza. Like, eat a rib, eat a giant Flintstone-sized turkey leg if you want to show that you're like down. But it's that sort of, people can't distinguish a girl who enjoys herself and parties and has her shit together from like a hot mess. And every time I do like marketing for something or promo stuff, it's always like, you know, I'm waking up and I don't know what's going on, and I'm drinking wine at work. I'm having martinis at 2 o'clock. Most women I know have their shit together. You went to school, you got an education, you have a job, you're struggling to put it all together, but you're doing it. We love this archetype of like, and I put this in the book, whenever they describe characters for an audition, it's always like, Shelby doesn't know if she wants love. She thinks she does. She's a mother. She's dating. She's also working in an office and carrying coffee. Can she balance it all? And she's like, I'm clumsy. And no one ever asked that of guys. No one's ever like, he's the quarterback and has a kid. Is he gonna make it? Like, everybody, we think it's hilarious when a woman multitasks, when really being a woman is multitasking.
Like, amen, seriously.
Right? Like, yes. I am sucking in so hard right now. I'm not, I feel fine.
Your comedy is also so physical. How did that become a part of your storytelling?
The honest answer, I wish I had like more artistic answer. I guess this is pretty artistic of me. It is a genuine physical manifestation of my excitement on stage. When I do a party goblin or a pharmacist or a character or something, I'm watching it happen. Like, I'm in that scene. Like, to me, I'm surrounded by it, and I'm just conveying that. I'm very aware of the space I occupy and my body and how it contorts and what does and doesn't get the message across. So it just sort of comes out. Like, when somebody hits a great note when they're singing, their voice sort of oscillates. And for me, doing a character, it just naturally, it needs a voice. It needs a hunchback. It needs a claw. Like, I love the idea of mythical, fantastical things being part of our everyday lives. And so it just comes out.
Who is a party goblin for people in here who might not know?
It's actually, what is a party goblin?
What is a party goblin?
Everybody has one. So your party goblin, it's the idea that everybody has one. Everybody has that thing inside of them where your night goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Like, everything was cool, and then the next day you woke up, you're like, I ate the whole thing? I texted who? And that's your party goblin. Like, when you can't even blame yourself, you're like, I didn't make that decision. It was party goblin. Hopefully, if you're having party goblin nights regularly, that means you have like a substance abuse issue and you should contact a counselor. But everybody, no matter your age, everybody has those nights where you're like, I'm sorry I got on top of your table. But it had to happen. And she usually kicks in right when you think it's not going to happen. Because we've all had those nights where you're like...
Think you're safe.
Yeah, you ever been like partying with your friends and like it's just, you're not having fun. You're like, I just feel bloated now. And then there's those nights where you're like, okay, we'll just have one glass. And she like she hears that. And that's when it starts. She's there.
I just have one more question for you, and then I think we have audience questions.
Okay.
But my last question is just, you're doing so many different things. What does success in comedy look like to you or mean to you?
I have had the same answer to this for the longest time. I think part of me is afraid to define it specifically because oftentimes you are not in control of attaining your own goals. It's a moving target, and a network I might want to be on today might crumble tomorrow. So for me, the goal has always been getting to be creative on my own terms and getting to do projects on bigger and better levels. So it's a club, it's a theater, it's a hippodrome, because I'm going to Baltimore this week. So come on out if you live in Nebraska. Just drive, come on out to the show. It's a movie that I have control over. It's a series, it's a show. And I think if you start from a position of this is my art, I'm doing it my way, and you build from that position, people are less inclined to insert themselves in it. So it's tough. It's tough to move that boulder uphill because everybody wants to put their paws all over something or change you. It's harder to decide that I'm going to be who I am and not let anyone change that. I could have very easily just been like, I am that girl. I'm drunk. Pizza. Hey. And I probably would have gotten a lot more roles, but being yourself and being present in yourself and deciding not to change that is an ongoing battle, a personal battle, but it's one that I'm willing to fight. So that's my answer. Bigger and better on my own terms.
Great answer, yet again.
Thank you.
Eliza,
Am I
your
winning?
audience, you won.
Good. Are you small? Are you small? Come here.
Come here, Blanche.
Are you small?
Come here, Blanche.
Okay, cool. Later. I only feed and clothe you. Okay, bye.
Audience
Are there no
member?
questions?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Hi, Eliza.
Thank God. Hi.
I'm actually a huge fan of your work. I think
you.
I've watched Confirmed Kills maybe 20 times. And I don't think I can ever watch Shark Tank the same way ever again. But if anyone understands that. But
Doesn't matter. I get it.
you got it.
I felt
so
you.
I wanted to know, so much of your stand-up is about female empowerment. And I think I've never related to anything more than getting ready for a date in that segment. But I'm curious how much of your stand-up about women kind of influences your book?
How much of my stand-up, there's people up there. How much of my stand-up about women influences the book? So it's interesting. I started writing this about a year ago, so a lot of the jokes that are in Confirmed Kills are in this because I'm just borrowing from myself. The stand-up is ever evolving, and I knew that the book was going to be something that was written in stone forever. So it wasn't so much, the book is my point of view, as is my stand-up, but I wanted, in stand-up you can make these definitive statements and you can be a little offensive and you can do things like that because you're up there and it's in the heat of the moment and it's a show and it's okay. And for this book, I just wanted to take care, especially in the climate, unfortunately, we have now, to just make it clear, this is my journey, and if it's not yours, that's okay, but this is mine. So this was, I think, I was a lot more tedious with my point of view and a lot more specific than in the stand-up. I think you can paint these broader strokes, and you actually have a verbal voice in stand-up, and you have to be careful with intonation, and some people have never heard the stand-up, so reading this, it can't be as casual. I guess that's the best way. I tried to have a more academic approach with this. It's basically a thesis, which I haven't written in a very long time. So.
I see a question here as well.
Hello, I also love your stand-ups. My friends and I quote it all the time, especially the flatbread line whenever we go out to eat.
Wow.
But, yeah, it's amazing. I was gonna ask about how you do your voices, but you kind of already touched on that. So I want to know, did you watch SNL growing up, or who influenced you? What comedians did you love growing up?
So for me, I was never a student of stand-up. I wish I had a good answer. I was watching Richard Pryor, and I knew that was going to be me. So I'm a kid from Dallas, Texas, with divorced parents, and I think sometimes when you don't have a male figure in the picture, you lose a lot of your reference points. It's an older brother that shows you Nirvana. It's a dad that's listen to Steely Dan with me. And so it was me sort of piecing together. I knew I was funny, and I just watched whatever I could. I watched a lot of black comedies. I watched a lot of Martin. Everyone got so weird when I said black. It's not weird. I watched a lot of In Living Color, and I think for a lot of kids that grew up in the 90s, that political view, before we understood racial relations, you knew what they were doing was amazing. I was hanging with Mr. Cooper popping into my head. I opened for him one time too, which is crazy. I watched Kids in the Hall and The State and Saturday Night Live. And it was a lot of, there were the women of the 90s of Saturday Night Live, like Sherry O'Terry and Molly Shannon, shaped the way that we spoke. Sherry O'Terry's voice, yeah, okay, doing all right. And I interviewed her once, and she kind of described all of her characters as hanging by a thread. But that voice was stolen by so many people. Chris Farley, Will Ferrell, this sort of burst of energy and anger. And I definitely take a page from that in my stand-up. So it was always funny characters and people and voices versus pure stand-up. And I think that's why my stand-up has so much texture, because it was so influenced by sketch comedy.
I think we have one more question.
Hi.
So, hello. Picture back to when you did Last Comic Standing for the first time. What advice would you give yourself then that you apply to now, since you've written this book and done so much stand-up and had all these shows?
When I was auditioning, or
When you're on the TV for the first time.
Oh, I think this sounds like I'm throwing you under the bus, but I'm not. I went in there super prepared. My goal was to not lose, and I didn't talk shit on anyone. I think it's one of the times in my life I was really proud of how I handled myself. I have a lot of things where I leave and I'm was I the best for? I'm gonna leave this interview and be did I talk too fast? I should have eaten something before. I'm always, but for that, maybe slowing down, which is still a note I would give myself. Maybe don't wear deep V-necks on TV. It looks too casual. Maybe like get like a real human haircut. I don't know. They had to like give me shoes because mine were so dirty, and I was like, "What's wrong with that?" So, I guess that. I think it was. I was proud of the way I handled it. Yeah, I guess that's probably it. I know it should have been a better one. Like, be more true to yourself, but I was painstakingly true to myself. That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Iliza, thank you so much. And Blanche, thank you so much.
We're gonna go soon. Are we gonna go? She's like, you lied last time.
Iliza's book is on sale now, and she's performing this weekend at the New York Comedy Festival, which you can get details on her website about, iliza.com. So check it out, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, you guys.